Hey, it's Paul Macetta, and in this video I'm going to share with you some techniques from the art of hypnotic language and how you could use hypnotic language to get other people to solve their own problems. Because guess what? If you want to become truly persuasive and truly influential, the fastest way to do that is to help other people solve their own problems. So sit down and stay tuned. Guys, before I jump into this, if you want to learn a simple 5-step process for influencing and persuading others using hypnotic language, go ahead and check the description below. I got a link to my free ebook, The Hypnotic Language Blueprint. Go ahead and check the description below. There's a link in there. I'll give you free access to that book. So today what I want to talk about is the power of vague words and how you can use vague language to get a person to tap into the inner resources that they already have to solve problems and overcome challenges. Now, when it comes to effective communication and being persuasive and influential, this is great for two reasons. Number one, you're actually helping somebody, right? And that's always a good thing. Anytime you can help somebody overcome a challenge or solve a problem, that's good. But number two, if you think about it, that's what real leaders and the most influential people in the world do. They just help other people become better people. So, how do we do this? So, when you give somebody else what I call non-specific language, you give them the opportunity to assign their own meaning in their own way. So, words like explore or discover, for example, think about those words. Many words have different meaning depending on the context. For example, if you say to someone, close your eyes and just explore, the word explore could mean a lot of different things, and then that person is basically going to assign their own meaning to it. Now, there is one caveat that I want to make here, and that's this. When it comes to effective communication, there are times when you want to be indirect and times where you want to be crystal clear and absolutely direct for this exact reason. And what I'm getting at here is that people always assign their own meaning to stuff. There's going to be times where you want them to kind of explore and come up with their own meaning, and then there's going to be times where there's a specific meaning that you want them to assign to it, and I'll show you ways in a different video on how to do that. In this context, we're talking about how to use indirect language, and really what this comes from is the father of modern hypnotherapy, Milton Erickson. I'm not going to give you his life story. If you want, you can Google him, but he's known as the father of hypnotherapy. In my opinion, he's the greatest hypnotist that ever lived. Above anything else, above being able to get extraordinary results with his clients, what made Erickson so great is that he was a master communicator that really understood how to read people. Now, many people who study Ericksonian language patterns believe that Erickson was always indirect, but this really isn't the case. He used vague language to get the person to assign their own meaning, but then he used either direct or indirect language based on their response in order to structure the session or the situation. So again, what's the purpose of vague language? By using vague language, you're giving the subject an opportunity to find their own way to solve a problem by using the power of their own subconscious mind. So if there's ways to do this. So the first thing is, think about this. I want you to sit here and relax. And as you relax, think about and discover what would make you feel you could make the change that you want to make. Direct the subject. So in this case, you've directed the subject to command them to sit and relax. The command is to sit, and the word relax means different things to different people. The words relax, think about, discover are all things that might mean something different depending on how the subject interprets them, and also depending on the context. So even the word change here is vague because you've not been specific in how you would like them to change. So the subject has the answer. That's the thing you have to remember. They've now been directed to go inside their own subconscious mind to uncover what would happen to make them change their mindset or their outlook. Now, metaphors analogies, and stories are a great way to use universal vague language to get them to go deeply into their own conscious mind. I call these the Trifecta of Power. They're my 3 go-to techniques. I got another video in my YouTube library that shows you how to use metaphor, stories, and analogies. But very simply, what you want to do is give direction without specific details. So if you give too much of a description, then basically the subject can't put their own experiences, like they can't assign their own meaning to it because you're controlling their vision or their image or their outlook of the situation. But if you keep it general, then they can fill in the details themselves, and those details will have more meaning for them. Vague language is naturally hypnotic because the subject has to go deep inside to search for the meaning that's appropriate for them. So as a hypnotist or as a master communicator or as someone that's using hypnotic language, you know nothing about the internal experience that they're having. So you would say things like, I wonder how you feel as you're walking toward the beach. I'm curious as to how the sky looks on the day you're taking this journey and how your feet feel as you walk. Is the sand hot and hard or soft and cool, or is it something in between? You see, words with many different meanings give you the opportunity to communicate on many different levels. Meanings can be activated unconsciously. So you can create an undercurrent or thread that weaves through everything. So for example, if you wanted to give a feeling of speed, you could use words like running, sprinting, hurrying, even when you're not specifically talking about speed, but want to communicate an element of speed in the message. Highly generalized statements that are vague put the other person into a state of agreement. So listen and listen closely because this is important. The statement, we all have our problems, is a vague statement. It doesn't say what the problems are in specific detail or even what types of problems we're talking about, but as soon as the person hears that statement, they drift into their own problems. So, for example, if you're talking to somebody and they just shared a story with you about how they got into an argument with somebody in the parking lot because somebody tried to take their spot, and they feel that they were completely right. If you turned around to that person and made a statement like, people are crazy, that person would instantly agree with you because in the context of the conversation, telling them that people are crazy because they fight with you over parking spots that they're clearly wrong about is going to make the person agree with you. In a different context, if you said that, it might not make sense to them. Vague language also empowers the other person. By being vague in your language, you place the power pack in the subject's hands and mind to determine what has meaning and what's useful on the path to change mindsets. So here's some use of words for vague language. As you study vague language, you're going to realize that many of the different words we use don't have exact meanings, but instead depend on the context for meaning, like the example that I just gave you. So what words can you use? I mean, there are tons of different words that fit into the scope of vague language, but some of my favorite ones are wonder, curious, development, explore, pleasure, excitement, relaxing, satisfying. These are all words that mean different things to different people. What some people would label as exciting could be labeled as dangerous to others. What some people may consider to be relaxing could be considered to be boring to others. So again,